Hey guys, and welcome back to Life with Iain and Rosie. It's been quite a while. A lot has happened and a lot has been going on, and we finally have gotten the chance to just sit down and have a chat. Today we thought we'd talk about how to be productive and just kind of share some things that we do to keep the productivity flowing and get things done and not lose motivation in the tasks we need to finish. And yeah, we just thought we'd share that because I think in this time especially, a lot of people have been struggling with being productive, as most of us have just come out of a lockdown or a quarantine or something like that, so everything's a bit weird, and Iain and I have actually been super productive in our lockdown here.
Yeah, I think a big thing from the lockdown, and I don't think everyone's going to be taking away the same thing, or the same like experience or understanding or whatever you want to call it. But I found that, especially in Rosie and myself, one of the biggest things that we've realized is that we were not prepared for something like this. And I don't think anyone can prepare, because the chances of a lockdown or a pandemic starting around the world was, 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah, it was
and
crazy.
Just the fact that it happened, and now what we've done with our lives on staying productive, kind of keeping motivated on tasks that we had, and even looking into the future, even though it's so undetermined on what's going to be happening. I think just for us to be looking forward, and kind of, for me especially, I'm very much a planner. Rosie's kind of a put everything on her plate and just complete every single task, where I like to structure it and kind of get it down and know what I have to do. And if I don't have those lists, I really struggle to get this stuff done. So it really comes down to the person you are and exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, so I think, as Iain said, when we went into lockdown, we were not prepared for it. I still remember telling Iain, we're not going to go into lockdown. South Africa is not going to shut down. And like a week later, we were in stay at home, you don't leave your house lockdown. And I think what helped us get through this time, and what's kind of changed my whole way of looking at things, was the mindset we had. I mean, we both lost a lot, as I think a lot of people have, and some people more than we have. My hours got cut at my work, and I mean, Iain's dealt with some tough situations, and for the whole lockdown, we've kind of just kept this really good mindset of, okay, this time is a time for us to kind of just explore different avenues and find different things to keep ourselves busy, and start things like this podcast and everything like that. So I think it's really comes down to mindset, and what I've taken out of this lockdown situation has helped me be more productive in my work life and in my social media life, and just things that I've always wanted to do that I've never done. But yeah, that being said, everybody goes about it different, so we just kind of want to share what we do, because we do it so different to each other. And there's been times where Iain's given me advice and I've just thought to myself, well, that's not going to work for me. So please don't feel like this is something you have to do to be productive. It's just us sharing what we do that works for us, and maybe it works for you too. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and start as to just what you like to do to stay productive and to kind of be productive, especially when your schedule is very flexible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, at the start of the lockdown and of this COVID-19 situation, a lot of my budgets got cut, which meant that I didn't have the kind of cash flow that I had before, which was, I mean, pretty decent living in South Africa and earning euros and dollars and everything else, it was, it was really easy for me to just have that money coming in every month and me being able to do whatever I want, whether it be traveling or going up and down the coast surfing or finding new waves or spending a week in another city like further up the coast or down the coast or wherever it might be. And as this whole thing started to happen, I started to see sponsors leaving or sponsors not being able to pay the amounts that they said they would, and the whole industry, and I think this is not just our bodyboarding industry or the surf industry as a whole, but it actually happened throughout the entire economy. People started getting let off their jobs, and one thing that I started doing was, because I wasn't earning this money and because I started getting a little bit stressed out about that, I thought to myself, well, what other means of income can I try and generate through this time of lockdown that will better set me in a more positive, more probably like financially stable position, instead of just kind of sitting back and being like, okay, well, I don't have the money to do this, I don't have the money to do that, so let me just kind of sit around and just wait for this whole thing to end. And I think that was quite a cool, productive kind of aspect of our lives, or especially mine, was the fact that now I was sitting with the possibility of maybe starting something that could generate another income and actually, be above my sponsorships and my paid earnings that I'm getting from doing influencer work or content creation or whatever you want to call it. And I thought to myself, well, this is the perfect opportunity for me to go in and start something. So in saying this, I have begun to do multiple different streams of income, and the idea behind that was to not have to rely on sponsors at the end of the day. And I think that was a huge turning point for me, because I had to kind of get off my ass and be like, okay, well, you didn't have this before, now you're going to have to learn and work and kind of become productive in the sense of earning that extra finance and earning that extra money, so that if this had to happen again, or if I had to get an injury and sponsors couldn't pay, or whatever it might have happened to be, this would be my safety net and actually start being my main income, which is kind of what I want to do. So the idea behind that was, instead of doing one video a week for YouTube, I decided to go for 2 videos. And instead of watching everyone else sell clothing, I decided, let me rather produce clothing. And so this started this kind of like trend to pick up smaller jobs instead of just kind of brush them off and rather go surfing. And it's been a whole mental shift for me, in the sense that I need to earn that little extra income and be able to survive without the sponsors being completely relied on. And I think that was such a positive growth in my life, just to have that sense of financial freedom to go and be like, okay, well, I've got these opportunities, so why don't I take them? And in saying that, I've generated enough money to pay my bills, as well as any extras that I might have during the month, be that groceries or travel or petrol or whatever else there is that needs to be paid for. And although at the time it seemed like such a difficult and such a tough process to go through, like when I look at it from this side, I'm like, I could have probably put a little bit more effort in earlier on. But earlier on, it wasn't really a necessity as it is now. And I think that's kind of one of the positive things that we've come to learn from staying productive in this time, especially right now in the pandemic and the lockdowns and whatever else your country is going through. I think this is such a positive thing to take out of it, is you now have the chance to kind of grow and reestablish yourself and put yourself into a better position than you were before.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, to be fair, like, and I do this all the time, is like, I'm always like, oh, but it's so hard to do something new, like, for example, to start a clothing brand, or to, like, me starting my YouTube kind of thing, I'm like, oh, it's so much work and it's so hard and I don't have the time. Like, we have the time, you know, like, that's what I figured out. Like, for me, when I was working and earning my salary and all that kind of stuff, like, I was just comfortable, you know, like, that's why I didn't kind of try and do anything more, you know, like, more than I needed to do. But
I don't think that's just you. I think that's worldwide, you know. Everyone gets to a position where they just feel like, this is enough.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really have to do any more because I'm paying my bills, I'm saving a little bit at the end of the month, and
for sure,
you know, like, no one really thinks about that safety net or that pandemic that could happen.
And like during this like lockdown thing, Ian and I both had this like really long discussion and said like we both want so much more for ourselves and out of this life and out of our relationship and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to take so much work and it's going to force us to do things that we like really might be like scared to do, or like, you know, just things that kind of push you out of your comfort zone. And that's probably the best thing we've ever done, because things are actually starting to happen, you know, things that we thought like, yo, this is so out of reach, you know. And I just think like for me during this lockdown time, I've like become so productive. It's actually insane, you know. I've really like just forced myself to just stay productive, because I just thrive in that kind of environment. Then it always gives me shit about not being able to relax or no chill, but that's just how I do things, you know. That's just how I stay on top of what I need to do, how I stay motivated to do the things, you know. I don't like to, it sounds weird, of course there's days that I like to just chill and not do anything, like do half the amount I normally do,
which is still a lot for the average person.
But that's just how I do it, you know, and you are completely different. But what I wanted to ask you before I share my side is, how do you stay productive on everything you do? Is it like when you see positive like feedback, you know, like your things are actually starting to work, or is it like your crazy lists that you make that's skeets, or is it like, you know, like what helps you actually stay productive and go from one thing to the next and get the thing done and then go like, okay, cool, on to the next thing kind of thing?
Yeah, well, the lists, okay, so I was really struggling through the lockdown to kind of like figure out exactly what my purpose was, where I was going, how I was going to stay productive through this time, because when I couldn't surf, there's not much that takes up my day. Like I don't have a ton of admin work, and I don't have like these crazy things that I need to get done.
Sorry, before we go on, just to like make everyone understand, Ian travels, when he did travels for about 2 to 2.5 months at a time. He comes back for about maybe a month. Okay, so in that month he's home, it's like kind of a reset for him, and like just a downtime more so, and like you go surf and you don't really do much kind of thing, not in a bad way, but of course, I mean, you've just been in an event for like 2.5 months. So this time has been super, super hard for Ian, trying to find ways to stay busy and like just more so have a purpose, I would say.
For sure,
because you're not competing, you're not being an athlete.
Yeah, it's weird because there's no end goal here. Like at the moment, I'm living every day, like, you know, living in the now. As weird as it sounds, it's like because I can't see where I'm gonna start traveling or whether these events are gonna start again next year. So it's such a difficult time for me, and I'm not one that like has emails to reply to, like
I mean, it's
hundreds
been
of emails.
the last
and,
like what 8 years you've been traveling.
yeah, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah,
This is the longest I've been at home, in one city for the last 7 years.
Oh, this is also the longest we've been together for our whole relationship.
Yeah.
So he's really had to like find a new purpose. That's basically what you had to do. You had to create like something to get you up in the morning, something to, you know, help you get through the day.
Keep me going. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can only serve so much, and sometimes you just need a little bit more, kind of thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's staying productive.
For me, like in the productivity like kind of spectrum, I think a lot of the motivation that I get is from seeing stuff do well, whether it be like a video that I post on YouTube or a follow account going up by an exorbitant amount, which has recently started happening. And it's actually gets to this point where the positive from that side actually starts to fuel the motivation to get more productive. And it's only very recent that started to happen. And it's crazy that it just, it was like I woke up the one morning and I was like, okay, well, I've got time. Why don't I just start doing 2 videos a week instead of just 1? And then I did the 2 videos and I was like, wow, that's actually quite easy work. I can keep doing this. And I think that was like in June or July. And over those 2 or 3 months that have happened now, July and August, or June, July, August, I've seen my subscriber counts go up on YouTube and my following on Instagram shoot up. And it's just that kind of thing to me gets me so much more motivated to make more content and produce more stuff. And I think that's probably more so where my motivation will come from, and also people enjoying that stuff, like people supporting me and pushing me to kind of, hey, can you do this video? Can you do this video? And that kind of stuff like really starts to kind of move through and motivate. And I think that was such a good thing for me, instead of just sitting around. And that kind of pushed me to the point where I needed to be like, okay, well, these people want this, so let me start producing and see how it does. And after you get like a 10,000 views on one video, and then the next week it's like 5,000, and then as it starts to progress like that, I started going, okay, well, this is working, this is what people want to see. And that kept the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But it's so different in your life, because I see, like, just to give you guys an idea, it's like I wake up 7:30 if I'm lucky on most days. Most of the time it's 8 o'clock. By that time, Rosie has already got up, she's had a coffee, she's gone into the garage or into the gym or gone for a walk, she's done some sort of exercise for at least an hour, if not an hour and a half. She's come back into the house, I'm still lying in bed scrolling on Instagram or whatever the hell I'm doing, and she goes, gets changed, gets started her day, and she leaves at like 9:30. And then I get up, pretty often I get up after 9 o'clock, and I start to move around the house. I'll get changed and go on my computer and start to see and kind of plan my days out and stuff like that. But, at my point of the morning where I'm getting up, Rosie is already at that stage where she's done a workout, she's done her morning rituals of whatever that might be, and she's already off at work. And by 1-2 o'clock she's recorded a lesson, she's done 4 or 5 lessons teaching kids, and then she's ready to go for the afternoon, and that's like 3 o'clock, and I've maybe done 1 video. And it's such like a complete opposite to how my day goes, where I'm going like, okay, well, maybe I'll go and get a massage, or maybe I'll go to the chiropractor, or maybe I'll go and see Phil and go for a training session. And those little things, it's like yours days just seem to be so much more productive and so much more kind of like scheduled, because they have to be, because they're lessons. But it's the same. It's like some mornings I don't feel like getting up, and you just get up and go. And it's just such a big like difference between the two of us. For me, I've always been like that. I've always been like, I love structure and I love routine. Like, that's just how
I've always done my stuff, and for me it starts with when I wake up. If I don't train, or okay, if I'm like really sore and not feeling it, like cool, I'll like decide what to do then. But most days I like to get up, start my day with some sort of activity, because it just puts me in that like, okay, that's like the first task of the day, you know, kind of thing that I've like done. And I love training, so it puts me in a good mood, you know, it kind of wakes my body up, gets my mind going, all that kind of thing. And like my day basically just follows the same routine. I wake up, do some sort of exercise, and then make sure I'm in my office working by 9:30, doing what I need to do. And that's just how I stay productive, is just to follow my routine. And I've always been like that, you know. And I think it comes down to personality as well. And one thing I have really like noticed and have made a point to be aware of is everybody is so different, and not to compare yourself to other people. Like your productivity is way different to my productivity, you know. Like if you decided, okay, this week I'm going to do this and this and this, whether it be a massage or a chiropractor or a training session or a video, that's your productivity. That's what you need to get done that week, you know. Mine is like way different to yours, and that's totally okay. And that's one thing that I think everybody should like just be aware of, is like not to compare yourself to other people. Especially maybe if you're sitting here and you're a bodybuilder and you want to be on the world tour kind of thing, like don't compare yourself to Iain right now, because he's like 10 steps ahead of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he also started from grinding his way, trying to get on tour. So that's something that I just like to remind myself, is that I got to just do what I can do, and I got to I don't have to stay motivated, but it definitely helps to stay motivated. And the best way I stay motivated and productive is with routine and doing the most I can. You know, I like to set myself deadlines.
Sure.
Like I've had a really cool opportunity of being able to record lessons for the company I work for, and it's been a lot of hard work. But I like to break it down and give myself deadlines. So I like to say, you know, like this week I'm going to do X amount of lessons, and then I write that down and make sure that gets done. That's how I like to stay productive, is to set myself a goal and a deadline for that goal. And I think that could like help a lot of people, you know. Say you want to do whatever, say you give yourself this much time to do it, and I promise you'll probably get it done before that time too.
For sure. But that's another thing. Like, you know, I was speaking to my stepfather Hank, and he was saying that the best way to get tasks done, I mean, he's a ex-headmaster at a junior school up in Durban, and you know, at that time he was a really stressed out, busy person. But he said to me that the best way to get through the tasks is to structure your day and write these tasks down. And I think putting a deadline to them is even, you know, that's like a step above, is because you start to see these things, and you see, you know, either your countdown clock, or one thing that I really like to do is use the reminders on my phone. So whether it comes to whatever it is in my life, whether it's doing my monthly reports or doing email people or things that I have to go do in town, I'm most of the time very forgetful. So I put them on my reminders, and these things pop up at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and they say, okay, well, tomorrow you've got this with Philip, or you got to go to the chiropractor, or you've booked this appointment or that appointment.
Yeah.
And I think just getting that kind of, like you say, getting the structure involved, and getting those lists down where you can actually physically cross something off that's done. I think that's also like another way of being really productive, and it's quite satisfying to get through a task at the end of the day and be like, or get through a list of tasks at the end of the day and every single one of them is scratched out. It actually feels like you've accomplished way more. And I think being productive, you've got to look at outside ways in order to structure your days or to structure your weeks or your months or your years into ways where you can actually be like, okay, well, that's done, this is done, this is done. And that sense of accomplishment will just kind of motivate you on the next task and the next task. And it's such a good way of doing stuff. And I think, you know, for you living a very structured life, for me living a very unstructured life, I think both aspects can, you know, you can achieve your goals and what you set out to do with the same strategy.
Yeah. So like that just made me think of like crossing off your lists, like when I was doing. So what had happened was I got the opportunity to do a set of recordings for a certain topic, and then they asked me to do another set of recordings for a completely different
lesson.
Yeah, like program in what we teach, and those two were overlapping at a stage. So I was like, okay, like Crazy Rosie came out, and I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? And I literally had to write to make sure I got everything done and stay on top of what I needed to do, because I had deadlines to be, or I had deadlines to submit these lessons by and everything like that. And it ended up like getting a tiny bit overwhelming, but I just said to myself, like, you can totally do it. And I would write my days out to the hour, you know, because I'm working from home. It's so easy for me to just get distracted, get up, walk around, do something for ended up being 3 hours later.
Sit on your phone.
Yeah, so I had to like write myself a like, and I'm not even kidding, this was I have like 6 little notebooks that are like stashed everywhere, and the one I just flipped through the other day and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't even picture this. But I would write down, okay, after I've woken up, obviously I didn't write down to wake up, but I would write down how much time I had for training or exercise or whatever I wanted to do that morning, and then when I had to start my work, because I was recording 2 different kinds of lessons a day, plus I had lessons I had to teach. So I only had so much time I could record in the day and all that kind of stuff. So I would write down hour to hour what I needed to get done, you know. And that really helped me because I was under some pressure, but at the same time, looking back now, I was like, it wasn't that hard because I had it all planned out, you know. And I still did this now with my last set of recordings, where I set myself a goal that I wanted to finish them by Saturday, finish them by Sunday, but that's okay. But I knew I wanted to finish it this past week, and I did, you know. I wrote it down. I made sure that I had everything in place to get me to that. I had a plan. And I think that goes with like any kind of goal you set as well. If you break it down into smaller parts, you know, do a little bit of everything each day or each week or each month, you'll probably achieve that goal way before you think you ever would have, you know? And for us, like when Ian started this whole clothing side of things, it was a lot of work, but he broke it down into like kind of manageable ways to do it, you know. And I mean, you only had somebody help you with design. Everything else was just you by yourself. So kind of where we are the same is by writing those things down and like visualizing it almost, you know, making sure you are putting in the work, because that's the only way you're going to get results, is if you do work and you do grind. And sometimes it's going to feel like it's not working, hence the YouTube, like we've gone through the motions of, oh, this is not working, you know, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm putting in all this work, and then all of a sudden it just clicked and things just started turning around, and it's become easier. And that's just like, you just got to stay on the grind and make sure you've got everything planned out, you know what you need to do, and you just get it done. And once that's done, then you focus on the next thing. I think a big thing that people also struggle with is like they get this idea or this goal, or they get like things they need to do at work, and it's like this whole big task. But what I like to do is I like to break it down and see, you know, what I need to get done first, the most important things, and then what, you know, I can do a little bit later, and just so that it's more manageable and you don't feel so overwhelmed that it's like kind of like I can't do any of it, you know. So yeah, like for me, definitely structure and like breaking it down. And if I even have to go to planning my day hour to hour to hour, I mean, I was writing how long I had for lunch and everything. That's just what helped me go through that. Yeah, and if you like Iain, just easygoing kind of, you know, just take it as it comes.
There's still, I mean, in my side of things, there's still goals that I set. You know,
For sure.
there's still like plans that I had in place and deadlines that I wanted to meet, especially when it comes to this clothing thing. You know, I never really had the idea of doing clothing or doing anything like that, and from a couple YouTube searches and a few things that I looked at, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something that people would be interested in. And you know, I think it was the first 24 hours, I think I went and sold like 20 items, which is, in my idea of getting this thing done, I never would have said in the first day that I would have 20 orders to get shipped out overnight. Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't even like a full 24 hours. I think I checked the next morning and there was already 18 or 19 orders. So the thing for me is like, if you can see that there's an opportunity, take it. You know, and yes, I spent a bit of money on a designer and trying to get these clothes sorted and everything else that I've done, but at the same time, the reward and the amount of people that are going to support you and keep supporting you, I think, is huge. And I think it's definitely something that, you know, we can all look at and we can all kind of stay positive on and keep pushing at whatever goal you can see at the end, and keep that vision in mind. You know, we've spoken about visualization, and it's a very difficult thing to do, but once you get the knack of it and once you can actually start to see things, and I'm sure we've spoken about this before in events that I've done, and the pipeline events are a pretty good example from my side of visualization, and people kind of like giving you this kind of inspiration to do what you want to do, and in your mind you can just fabricate these things and in such a good and positive and structured way that by the end of it, you know, I was constantly seeing myself holding this trophy in the air, and by the end of the event, there I was standing with this massive tiki head in my hand. And I think that's like, it's such a good sign for me to be like, okay, well, if that worked, and if I can go through all the adversity of having an injury and doing everything that I needed to do and come out the other side with a title, I mean, it's huge. And I just feel like if you can adopt that mentality and kind of stick to your goals and your plans and your structures, you can become so productive and stay positive and keep moving in the right direction, where I feel a lot of us in this time especially need to be moving.
Yeah, and I also think, just to add to that, in today's world it's so easy to get distracted. So I'm a firm believer of just being super clear on what you want to get done and what you need to get done, and then make or develop a plan to get those things done, whether it be, you know, prime example is my brother. He is such a free spirit, kind of easygoing, the most easiest going guy I know for sure. And my mom would always tell us how polar opposite we are, especially going through school. Like, I was always like committed, like didn't do great, like wasn't smart, and like, so don't think I got like 90s, 100s, but I was always like, I thrived on deadlines and always had my projects, like most of them done, like, you know, a few days before they needed to be in and stuff. Fuse was like, well, I'll just do it the morning of, you know? He was like, but he got it done. That's what I'm saying. Like, he had his whole, like, different way of doing things. And it's just to each their own, I think. And this is what works for us. And you can see how different we are about it. But at the same time, we get to where we want to be, you know? And we have, like, a few things we're doing together. And that's going to be, like, just kind of working with each other's strengths and weaknesses to kind of get it done, you know?
For sure.
And
I think that the good thing about this too is, like, there's a lot of things that I need to do, but I can't do them without you.
Aww.
Like, yeah, like, you know, if I do, like, any of the influencer work where I need photos taken, or my clothing where I need photos taken, or it's basically just getting photos taken, but
or video and film or whatever.
But Rosie is, I need that person. I can't do it all by myself. I can't go out and put a tripod.
Yeah, that's actually another good point to make.
Yeah, I can't physically do it all by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's another good thing, is you've got to feed off one another. If you've got that person or that friend or someone that you look up to, a mentor or someone else, I think just getting that kind of positive affirmation from that person and that, like, kind of drive or the push that you need, and
the help, it can definitely
be whatever.
Push that productivity for sure.
But I think putting, you know, the common thing between us is we've got these structures, we've got these plans, and we've got these goals.
Yeah.
And we're working so hard towards all three of those, that, you know, you kind of got to put those in place. And I think it's such a good place for everyone to be when you are wanting to achieve something or get more productive or stay more motivated. Put those goals in place, stay positive, and just keep reassuring yourself that the goals at the end of the day are going to be worth it.
For sure. Yeah. So I hope that's helped everyone become more productive. No, but to just be on a serious note. On a serious note, this is definitely just us sharing what we like to do and what keeps us going. And I mean, if you want to try it out, cool. Let us know how it goes.
If you want to reach out and ask us some questions, please feel free.
If you got anything you want us to talk about, we do have some cool ones planned where Ian's going to go off and do some with people he wants to talk to, and I've got some people I would like to talk to. But if you guys have any, like, topics you would want us to cover, just let us know and we'll definitely be doing that. We'll definitely be writing a productivity list for our podcast.
Yeah, we're sorry this one took so long to come out, but we've been busy.
Things have been happening.
It's been a difficult time for us, and I just think a difficult time for everyone. And we kind of kept planning these things out and putting them and pushing them away, and it's just one of those things, I feel. But at least this one's out. We're stoked to be back. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I guess we will speak to you in the next one.
See ya. Mm-hmm.